Hi guys, I decided to make a video I've been going back and forth for a week about now at this point. I don't like talking on camera, but I feel like there's some things that need to be said. I'm really sick of seeing black people being killed by scared white people and police. So I am making this video because I want to start a conversation about privilege and oppression and its effects, how its effects still exist today. I know most of you white people don't feel like you've lived a life of privilege. I mean, I've certainly had a hard life myself, but it's not personal. It's about the bigger picture. So I found this quote and it really hit home. Talking to white people is like talking to fish about water or a bird about air. It's just always been there, so you've never noticed it. I also didn't realize my privilege until I started expanding my education and my experiences. When you know better, you do better, and it's okay to admit you didn't know better before. We were raised, in my family, to not see color. And that comes from a place of good, but it's actually extremely harmful for minorities and people of color. They have to see color. It's in their face every single day. They have to be aware of every single thing that they do because of the color of their skin. Most of us just go about our days not even thinking about things like that. It's not fair and it's not right. We need to be teaching our children that this is the way that things are, but it doesn't have to be. Equality and equity is necessary for all people in this country. Let me get to my notes because I get lost so easy. The most recent example of privilege is Ahmaud Arbery. This is what really bothered me more than anything, and this is why I made the video. Those white men had absolutely no right to do that. You can say anything you want. It doesn't matter if he did steal from a house or something like that. He still does not deserve to be shot and killed. Period. I'm going to go back to not seeing color because a couple of examples of this I just want to share are the facts that we don't really have to worry about being shot and killed when we get pulled over. That's not our fear. We're afraid of getting a ticket, maybe going to jail, but we're more than likely not going to get shot. So that's something that black people have to live with every time they get pulled over by the police. And they could just be getting profiled. Maybe there's not even a reason to pull them over. That's not cool. I've been in a car where that happened before. It's not fun. It's scary, actually. Have you ever been walking around a store and been followed because someone thinks you might steal something? More than likely not. But did you know that this happens to black people almost every fucking time they go in a store? A white 12-year-old is a child, but a black 12-year-old is seen as a threat. Sit with that for a minute. My next point is going back to privilege being institutional rather than a personal set of benefits. Some examples would be that our families have had generations to create wealth to pass down. Black people weren't even allowed to have money just over 100 years ago. I know every family is different. Like mine fled Yugoslavia, so we haven't had that much time to create generational wealth either. But in the grand scheme of humanity, here we are. So maybe black people have had a generation or two to create wealth. Okay. But there's other things in the way, such as resources, housing loans. Laws were created so that black people couldn't own land or property, even after they were considered to be people. Colleges and Other academic institutions have made it so alumni children are accepted, even with poor grades, over students with higher grades that didn't have parents that went to that school. The idea of this was created so that white people could continue to have their children going to school, making it harder for black people to get an education. They weren't even allowed to learn how to read like 100 years ago. How much African American history did you really get growing up, besides Harriet Tubman? I'll wait. Let me give you a rundown of the history of our oppression and how it still affects minorities today. The selling of their children and families during slavery. They don't get to find their ancestry. It's not easy for them to learn where they came from, like we can. I already spoke on we withheld their ability to read, making it impossible for them to be educated and educate their children. The oppression wasn't just towards black people either. Native people, we stole their land, we erased them from history books, forgetting their contributions to society, and removed their children from their homes in the 70s and put them in white homes. We are lucky we didn't wipe them out. We put Japanese Americans in concentration camps, and we're locking Latinx children in concentration camps at our border currently, separating from their parents. Probably creating terrorists. Good job, America. Fast forward to right now, and we're seeing Band-Aids for all skin colors. Finally! Why is that just now happening? We still have hair sections in stores that are labeled as black hair sections. Like, what? And black people are still getting profiled by police and citizens. I just want to remind you again that black people's blackness is in their face every day, and we get the privilege to ignore it and not have to have conversations about it. We get the privilege to walk around freely every day without fear of being killed because of our skin color. Which brings me to politics. A lot of you don't want to get into politics, but politics these days is equal to morals. Those of you who are voting for the people who don't do anything about these issues are voting against my child and a lot of people I care about. White people, please use your voice, your privilege, to speak out against these things. If you do not, you're part of the problem, and your silence is complicit.